The silence was deafening in the crumbling corridors of a long-abandoned Star Destroyer, drifting in the far reaches of space. Darth Vader's heavy breathing echoed off the cold metal walls, each mechanical hiss filling the air with an overwhelming sense of dread. The flickering lights overhead cast long shadows, distorting the shapes of fallen soldiers that had littered the ground. Stormtroopers, their white armor smeared with blackened blood, lay motionless at his feet. Vader's cloak billowed behind him as he stepped forwards, boots crushing shattered helmets and broken bones beneath his feet. The silence was only broken by the ominous hum of his life support system and the faint whine of the ship's failing power. He could sense it, lurking in the corners of his mind. Something was coming. Something powerful. As Vader moved deeper into the bowels of the ship, the air grew colder, the shadows darker. The force was thick here, twisted and unnatural, curling around him like a snake preparing to strike. His breath was steady, controlled, but deep within, a fire of anger smoldered. He had been summoned to this place by a presence he had not felt in years, a presence that should have long been gone. Ahead, the hallway widened into a massive chamber, its walls lined with shattered statues of relics of the Clone Wars. The once grand room had fallen into ruin, much like the Republic itself. In the center, bathed in a sickly, unnatural light, stood the figure Darth Vader had been seeking. Mace Windu. But this was not the Jedi Master as Vader remembered him. Windu's form was twisted, his robes torn and blackened, his once vibrant presence now tainted by the dark side. His face, marred by the scars of their last encounter, stared back at Vader with cold, vengeful eyes. "You've grown weak, Anakin," Windu's voice echoed through the chamber, his words laced with venom. "Or should I call you Vader now?" Vader said nothing, his silence more menacing than any words. His gloved hand reached for the hilt of his lightsaber, the familiar weight of the calming rage bubbling just beneath the surface. Windu had survived against all odds, hidden away in the dark corners of the galaxy, waiting for this moment. And now, the time had come. Windu's purple blade ignited first, forcing an eerie glow across the room. It crackled with unnatural energy, the force around him bending and warping. There was no hesitation and no mercy in his stance. The darkness had claimed him, just as it once claimed Anakin Skywalker. Vader stepped forward, his own crimson blade springing to life with a sharp hiss. The red light clashed violently with the purple, casting grotesque shadows across the bodies of the dead stormtroopers, their lifeless eyes still staring at the confrontation unfolding before them. The room seemed to hold its breath as the two warriors circled each other, the weight of their past heavy in the air. Windu's calm expression twisted into a cruel smile. "You thought you killed me. You thought your betrayal would break me. But here I am." Vader stayed silent. His response, however, was swift and brutal. With a flick of his wrist, the red blade arced through the air, striking at Windu with deadly precision. But the former Jedi was faster than Vader remembered. Windu countered with a surge of power that sent sparks flying across the room, the metal floor beneath them groaning under the weight of their clash. The fight was relentless, each strike fueled by years of hatred and vengeance. Vader's breath grew heavier, more labored, as he pushed Windu back. But there was something wrong, something unsettling about this place. The shadows themselves seemed to move, writhing like living creatures, their tendrils reaching out to touch the edges of the duel. Windu's eyes glowed faintly in the dim light, his face twisted in a sneer. You feel it too, don't you? The darkness is here. It wants us both. Vader did feel it. The cold, creeping sensation of something ancient, something malevolent. It was as if the ship itself was alive, watching them, feeding off their anger, their pain. The dark side was strong here. Stronger than Vader had anticipated. With a grunt of effort, Windu leapt into the air, his lightsaber slashing down in a furious arc. Vader blocked the strike, the impact sending a shockwave through his body. But as he did, something shifted. The ground beneath them trembled and the shadows around them seemed to grow deeper, darker, as if it was awaking from a long slumber. The Force screamed in Vader's mind, but a warning too late. Windu, his face twisted in fury, summoned the full power of the dark side, unleashing a torrent of energy that ripped through the chamber. The blast sent Vader crashing into the far wall, his lightsaber skittering across the floor, extinguished. For a moment, all was still. The flickering lights overhead dimmed into near darkness, and the air grew impossibly cold. Vader rose, slowly. His breath ragged, his vision swimming with pain. Windu approached, his lightsaber glowing ominously in the dim light, his steps measured and deliberate. You've lost, Vader. His voice dripped with malice. The dark side is mine now. This was no longer the Jedi Master Anakin Skywalker once knew, but a new, fierce adversary, fueled by the vengeance of the past. Vader, despite the pain and despite the weight of the dark energy pressing down on him, stood tall. His eyes, hidden behind the black mask, burned with a renewed fury. He extended his hand, and with a sudden violent pull of the Force, his lightsaber flew back into his grasp.
No. I am the dark side.
In one swift motion, his blade ignited, the red light slicing through the air with deadly precision. Windu barely had time to react. The force of the strike sent him stumbling back, his defenses faltering. Vader pressed forward, his movements fueled by the very darkness that surrounded them. And in the end, it was over, as quickly as it began. Windu fell to the ground, his lightsaber extinguished, his body broken and lifeless. The ship, once alive with the strange presence, seemed to grow still. The shadows retreated, leaving only silence in their wake. Vader stood over the body of his fallen foe, his breath steady once more. The dark side was stronger than ever within him. He radiated power. And after all that, he had won. But at what cost? As he turned to leave, the shadows seemed to whisper, their voices faint but ever present, reminding him that the darkness was always watching and waiting. And Vader, Lord of the Sith, would always be its servant.